Hi friends, it's Julie and welcome to my story time. So for my story this week, I chose a book entitled Thank You, Amu. Now this book is written and illustrated by Augie Mora. You may remember that name, maybe not, but several weeks ago I read a book entitled Saturday. It was also written and illustrated by Augie Mora. Now, she is the one who won a very special award for her illustrations for this book. So as we go through it, I hope you'll notice the beautiful illustrations along with the wonderful story. So let's get started with Thank You, Amu. On the very first page before it begins, it even says, Note to Reader. Amu, pronounced Amu, is the Igbo term for queen. Igbo is a language that is native to some people who live in Nigeria, a country in Africa. So let's get started. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. What a delicious stew, Amu said. Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I've ever had. Can you think of a best meal you've ever had? Why don't you share that with your family? With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until... Knock! Someone was at the door. When Amu opened it, she saw a little boy. Little boy, Amu exclaimed, what brings you to my home? I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell, the little boy replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Stew, he sighed. That sure sounds yummy. Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share. Would you like some? The little boy nodded. And so Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the little boy said, and went on his way. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until... Knock, knock. Someone was at the door. When Amu opened the door, this time she saw... Who do you think she saw? A police officer. Miss Police Officer, Amu exclaimed. What brings you to my home? I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell, Miss Police Officer replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Ah, stew. she said, and her mouth watered. That sounds mighty tasty. Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. Would you like some? The police officer nodded. Once again, Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the officer said, and went on her way. And so, for the second time, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until, how many knocks this time? Knock, knock, knock. 3 knocks. Again, someone was at Amu's door. This time, when she opened it, she saw... Who do you think she sees? A hot dog vendor. Mr. Hot Dog Vendor, Amu exclaimed. What brings you to my home? I was selling my hot dogs down the block when I smelled the most delicious smell, Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. What is it? Thick red stew. Ooh, stew. The vendor licked his lips. That sounds quite delectable. Have you ever heard the term delectable before? It means delicious. So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. Thank you, Amu, the hot dog vendor said, and went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She fed a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker. Even the mayor stopped by. Do you see all those people? And each time they knocked, Amu shared. Soon, the sky darkened, the streetlights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty. No stew for Amu. Oh no. Amu sniffled. There goes the best dinner I ever had. Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until knock, 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 knock. Whoa, that was 5 knocks. Who could that be, Amu wondered. When she opened her door, she saw... Who do you think she saw? Let's see. The little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why? Everyone she fed today was at her door. I'm sorry, everyone, Amu sighed. My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share. The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. Don't worry, Amu. We are not here to ask. We are here to give. Ooh, what do you think they're going to give her? The police officer carried in a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special in a shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness and love. And what do you think's inside the envelope? That dinner was the best she had ever had. Because look what was in there. A thank you note. They all came to say thank you. She shared, they shared, how happy they all were. They danced and celebrated. It's wonderful when we share with others things that we absolutely love. And maybe sometimes we want to hold on to it, but the feeling we get when we share it with others just is something that God gives us that fills our heart with great joy to share with others. So this week I want you to think about how you can share your love with others and share the things that you love the most so that other people can enjoy it too. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.